We back. So I'm gonna do something different. Let this play though. I don't own the rights to this music, but I love this nigga.
I'm prolific, so gifted. I'm the type that's gon' go get it. No kidding. Breaking down a switch in front of your building. Sitting on the steps, feeling no feelings. Last night it was a cold killing. Gotta keep the devil in his hole, nigga. But you know how it go, nigga. I'm front line every time it's sold, nigga. 100 pro flow.
So we back. Welcome back to the Life is Hustle podcast. I'm your host, King Wilson. A lot of things in motion, slowly but surely. You know, Life is Hustle podcast, YouTube channel, and I don't even think I'm trying to be a YouTuber. I just like to talk. Hustler Spirit clothing line, definitely in the works. So I like to wear my own clothes, and I'm different. But Hustler Spirit clothing line, definitely in the works. So, you know, usually in Life of Hustle podcast, you know, we talk about business and this and that and this, right? But I just want to do a story time. Like I was talking to my homegirl the other day. She was like, yo, you've been through so much. What's the craziest thing you ever been through? So I'm like, dog, I remember the day my mom started smoking coke, using crack. Now, to some of you, this gonna be like, oh my God, like, why would you talk about that? But why not? First of all, it's fucking hilarious now. And secondly, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be who I am. So we're here to do a quick time with Slime story time, you dig? So I'm playing Mario Brothers 1, so I got to be 7, 8. My mom gets hurt at work. She's working at Chrysler. She gets hurt. She takes a $3,000 settlement. That was the drugs. So boom. So one day she leave the house like, loving. That's what my mom and my pop called me, right? So loving, I'll be back. No different. I'm in the crib and play the game. It don't matter. I can go outside when I want to, so don't matter. All right, mom, I'll see you later. So I'll be back, usually be an hour or 2. This shit was like 6, 7 hours. Again, no problem. I got food, chilling. Yeah, no big deal. She busting the house. Boom. Love it. Guess what they doing on Bennett Street? Now, I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. In my hood, in my city, it's a couple of main streets that you know. If you on these main streets, that it's going down. Bennett Street, 9th CB Dub, 7th in Washington, 5th in Madison, 3rd in Clayton, Concord Ave, Vander Ave, 24th in Market, 30th in Market, 30th in Madison. Like, you know what goes on these streets, right? Cool. All right. So I'm like, oh, okay, mom, what they doing on Bennett Street? Mind you, my mom got a Budweiser. My mom don't drink. If you ever met my mom, you know she don't drink at all. So she got a Budweiser. Know something's wrong from the rip. All right, it's like a 12-ounce Budweiser can. I don't think nothing of it. She wants some new shit. Drinks the beer. Gets buzzed. No issue. My mom don't drink. That's expected. Boom. So she like, yeah, you know, they take the coke and they do woo woo wham with it. So now I'm getting broken down at 7 years old, the chemistry of cooking crack cocaine. So she's like, yeah, you know, you drink the beer. Boom, boom, boom. She poked a dent in the can, put holes in the can. Again, I'm not thinking nothing of it, but this is going to be the device. This is pre-stem, pre-crack pipe smoking right here, folks. So, nonetheless, right? Boom, she does that. I see that. Boom. So she like, yeah, you take the coke. She opened the bag. It was like a 20. Put it on a spoon, some water on it. Put the lighter under it. It's bubbling and shit. It smells terrible. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what am I witnessing? So, a few minutes later, she gets some ice cubes, some cold water, throw the cold water in there with the baking soda. Throw the baking soda in there, then the cold water, it turns into this paste. So, on a drug dealer level, that paste, you let it get hard and then it becomes a rock, you break it down and you sell it. But on a smoker level, she gets into the paste, she clears it out the spoon, let the oils go, whatever, what have you. Mind you, I'm 7. I'm super smart though, like because at 8 I built a bomb like the next year. Like I'm not getting into that, but I built a bomb when I was 8 years old. It's a family thing. So now we get to the accoutrement, the ending of the story. But there's another part to the story, which probably saved my life. So we get the accoutrement. She comes back. It's the paste. It's on her finger and shit. So she taking the paste, putting it on, like rolling it in her hand, dropping it on smoking a cigarette. Put the ashes on the can, dropping the paste, which is now like almost like glue, rolling it up and dropping it on the can. All right. The ending. She takes the can, lighter, and it begins to crackle, which is where you get the name crack from, because that's not what it's called. It's called freebasing and then smoking. But FBI call it crack because it crackle when you light it. Again, another story, not for this story. So boom, she does this deep inhale. And if anybody has seen Snowfall, currently, shout out to Snowfall. If anybody's ever seen Snowfall, remember when Franklin Sate's love interest, the light-skinned girl from next door who dad was a cop, smoked coke for the first time? Her motherfucking eyes did like this. Listen, I almost cried when I seen it because I seen that shit in real life, so I know it to be true. Man, listen. So my mom grabs the can, right? Boom. Hits the joint. Takes this deep ass breath, and as she taking her breath, her motherfucking eyes is like turning, like look like fucking dinner plates, right? Boom. And when she exhaled, and I smelled that shit, excuse my language, when I smelled that, I knew my life had been changed at that moment. Fast forward 6-7 months go by. This is like summertime. So not even 6 months. Let's go 4 or 5 months. Let's get into the school year. Here's the hilarious stuff, right? So now I'm seeing it so much it's a regular part of my life. I'm 7 years old, so if I see my mom do it all the time, it must be all right, because my mom wouldn't do some shit that's not all right, because at this time, my mom is superwoman to me, right? Right. So we get, 7. I'm 7 in the summertime, so I'm turning 8. No, wrong. I'm 8 in the summertime. I'm turning 9. So we talking about I was in the end of 2nd grade going into 3rd grade, because I remember being 10 somewhere else. So boom. All right, I'm 8 turning 9. We get to this project in school, like a show and tell joint. What does my clever ass do? How to smoke coke on a can. I will never, ever forget I wrote this paper. How to smoke coke on a can is the title of this paper. I'm in 3rd grade. I'm going to McVeigh Elementary. For those of us who went to Delaware, lived on the east side, or out Newark, you went to McVeigh. Or Brookside, but I went to McVeigh. I went to Brookside, then I went to McVeigh for 2nd and 3rd. So I went to McVeigh. All right. I'm writing this paper. How to cook coke on a can. And in this paper, I go into detail from beginning, from getting a beer, drinking it, smoking holes in it, poking holes in the can, cooking the coke, letting it dry, rolling it up, putting it on the can, smoking, and result. I write a whole smoking the coke on the can presentation for show and tell. And was totally oblivious that I should have done that. So this is how funny God worked. So I write the paper, I do the diagrams and everything. The teacher gives me 110. So the presentation is incredible. But mind you, this white woman has no fucking idea what I'm talking about. This woman is like 30 years old, never been to the inner city, doesn't use drugs. She has no fucking idea what I'm talking about. She said, Raheem, what is this? I said, oh man, it's this new thing they doing on Bennett Street. Like, she fucking know what Bennett Street is. Yo, listen to me. All I remember her saying is, I don't know what this is, but I'm sure this isn't right. So she took it to the principal. Straight skipped the guidance counselor, skipped the administrator. She went straight to the principal, presented my paper. Like, listen, what is this? Number one, this paper, I had to give him 110 for the presentation, but what is this? And what is he at home seeing? So needless to say, DFS gets contacted. They then fax over the paper to DFS. So DFS comes to my house. All right, let the show begin. So DFS comes to my house. White lady comes in, with the police. It's like DFS, a off-duty Wilmington Police Department. This is when they used to send to bring the cop with you for safety. So it was a DFS worker, a off-duty cop, and like a liaison for the court. It was 3 people, all white. All right, come to my crib. They take my mom outside. The liaison and the cop take my mom outside and leave me in the house one-on-one with the lady. So she's like, how you living? I'm like, I'm living fine. Like, what are you talking about? Because I'm trained at this time. I'm trained like a pit bull to A, not talk to white people, which is wrong, but B, not tell nobody what goes on to my house. Black house code 101. You know, we go in our house, stay in our house. So I'm not talking about the abuse. I'm not talking about none of that, right? All right. So we get to rapping, and she like, so how's life? I'm like, life is fine. You like living here? Of course I like living here. What the fuck is you talking about? In my mind, I'm cussing her out. Like, what is you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I like living here. It's like, you get enough food? I'm like, yeah, which is true. Mom, we never, until her addiction got bad, we never went out eating. So, but I'm actually lying to the lady because shit ain't good. Shit has been terrible. But I'm not gonna throw my mom under the bus because, you know, that's my nigga. We walking in step. I don't give a fuck if it's 3 a.m. I'm with my baby. So, needless to say, she hit me with this. So how's your relationship with your dad? At the time, I'm like, I don't know. Me and him not even on the same wavelength. He don't come around, won't speak because he wasn't. Him and my mom is oil and water at the time. Like, if you know them, they was oil and water. Like, couldn't be on the same side of the street. It was action when they was around each other. So I'm like, me and on the same wavelength, but I was never programmed to. No matter what she said about my pop, I never absorbed that shit. Never, because I always knew it was her bullshit. As a kid, I knew it was her bullshit. His too, but a lot of her shit. No disrespect to the dick, God rest her soul. But yeah, so that happens. I do the paper, get the scores, boop, boop, boop. My mom says after they leave, nigga, you went to school and wrote a paper on this shit? I was like, yeah, why the fuck not? Just like that, like, yeah, why not? Is you crazy? Well, if you didn't want me to see it, you shouldn't have been doing it. And if you didn't want me to write about it, it shouldn't have been around me. Like, I'm writing what I see. Like, what do you want me to do? Needless to say, I took a severe ass whooping, right? 2 days later, I ended up leaving my mom's house, going to live with my great aunt, get reintroduced to church and all those things. But me writing that paper subconsciously was my cry or my kite or my flag for somebody to come get me. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what it was. Because had I stayed in that environment, who knows where I would be. So, shout out to the teacher. I don't remember who it was at McVeigh that took the paper to the principal. And shout out to the principal who contacted people at DFS. Shout out to DFS who removed me from the situation. Because although my life has been hard, who I would have been if had I stayed there, I'd have been dead or in jail. And I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, and coaching and mentoring and a father and none of those things. So this is just a little quick story time. It ain't the greatest story. It's probably not funny to some of y'all, but the shit's funny to me. So I thought I would share it. I have a weird sense of humor. I think it's fucking hilarious now. But going through it, was like, not so much. But now I can look back and be like, wow, like, why did I write that? So, you know, this is the Life Hustle podcast. This is a quick story time. I got tons of stories, though. I need to do this more often. This is like therapy. I got tons of stories. But, yeah, this is just a little story time Life Hustle podcast, man. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, like, share, subscribe. Hope you liked it. If you didn't, I understand. But if you can relate, you definitely dug it. You be good.